At 0312 hours, the Gulf of Oman became the most lethal patch of water on Earth. Naval radars lit up with 52 simultaneous incoming contacts. This was a highly coordinated, mixed-threat wave consisting of supersonic anti-ship missiles flying alongside slow-moving kamikaze drones. Every single one of those 52 weapons was pointed at one target, the USS Abraham Lincoln. Yet, despite the massive scale of the attack, the final accounting recorded 0 American casualties and 0 damage to the carrier. This event was a deliberate, full-scale field test by Iran. They placed an ultimate gamble on a single objective, sinking a nuclear-powered American supercarrier in international waters. For decades, Iran's asymmetric naval doctrine relied on a specific mathematical theory: overwhelm superior American defense networks through sheer volume. This data visualization shows the baseline processing capacity of an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer's Aegis combat system. Aegis is an integrated naval weapons network that uses computers and radars to track and guide interceptors. As the chart indicates, a single system can track well over 100 targets simultaneously. Iran's answer to that math was to send 52. The first half of the swarm consisted of Chinese-made CM-302 anti-ship missiles. These weapons are built for evasion. They skim the surface of the sea to hide from radar, approaching the target at Mach 3. Mixed into that same wave were Shahed drones. These are slower, propeller-driven systems, but they boast an extended flight range exceeding 2,000 kilometers. The logic of this saturation strike is strictly calculated. The attackers flood the radar screens and force computer bottlenecks, banking on the statistical probability that just one warhead breaches the perimeter to alter the balance of power in the Middle East. Standing between those 52 threats and the carrier was an outer defensive ring formed by 2 Arleigh Burke destroyers, the USS Mahan and the USS Spruance. Overhead early warning assets, like the P-8 Poseidon aircraft, provided launch detection within seconds of the weapons leaving their tubes. The destroyer's SP-1D phased array radars immediately locked on. A phased array radar uses multiple small antennas to steer its beam electronically, allowing it to track many targets at once. This system processes 52 contacts exactly the same way it processes one, with cold, automated precision and 0 hesitation. The first kinetic response came from the SM-2 Standard missile. The SM-2 flies at Mach 3.5 and engages targets up to 90 nautical miles away. It intercepted the incoming threats at the 60-mile outer boundary. This outer layer neutralized 14 supersonic threats so quickly that Iranian ground controllers did not even know the intercepts had launched before their missiles were destroyed. That left the Shahed drones. Their specific tactical purpose in the swarm is to fly low, fly slow, and force the carrier group to deplete its missile magazines. To counter this volume, the destroyers rely on the ESSM, or Evolved Sea Sparrow missile. The ESSM is a medium-range surface-to-air interceptor. These are quad-packed, meaning 4 missiles fit into a single vertical launch cell, allowing the ship to ripple-fire continuous bursts. This created a secondary kill zone. The mid-ring engaged the incoming drones at ranges between 10 and 27 miles from the carrier. This diagram illustrates the kinematic advantage of the interceptor. During its final approach, an ESSM can execute a 50G terminal phase maneuver to intersect its target. Because of the physical G-force limits of Iranian engineering, evading a missile in this mid-ring was mathematically impossible for their drones. Despite the outer and mid-rings, exactly 3 Iranian projectiles survived long enough to breach the final engagement zone. They met the carrier's last line of defense, the Close-In Weapon System, or CWIS. The CWIS operates on a fully autonomous loop. It detects the threat, calculates a firing solution, and engages without requiring a single human input. Its 20mm Vulcan Gatling gun delivers a massive kinetic wall of tungsten, firing at a rate of 4,500 rounds per minute. All 3 of the remaining threats were instantly vaporized. The 52-target swarm met a layered defense architecture that successfully processed every incoming weapon, concluding the engagement with 0 American casualties and 0 damage. But the American response began almost immediately. A U.S. nuclear attack submarine had already been silently tracking Iranian naval movements for 96 hours before the swarm was even launched. On March 4th, in international waters south of Sri Lanka, that submarine initiated a counterstrike. The primary weapon used was the Mk-48 Advanced Capability Torpedo. It is wire-guided, carries a 650-pound warhead, and runs at 55 knots. The target was Iran's most advanced frigate, the Iris Dana. The strike was brutally efficient. 2 torpedo impacts struck the vessel just 11 seconds apart. The ship broke apart and sank in under 4 minutes. This was just the opening move of Operation Epic Fury. Over the following 6 days, a coordinated campaign systematically dismantled Iranian military infrastructure, hitting production facilities, radar installations, underground fuel depots, and launch ramps. The final tactical scoreboard recorded 17 Iranian naval vessels destroyed and a 90% reduction in their total ballistic missile strike capacity. Iran tested their saturation attack theory under real combat conditions, and it completely failed. Instead of delivering a decisive blow, the operation dramatically accelerated the collapse of their military capabilities. Away from the kinetic battlefield, a parallel dimension to this conflict was unfolding within the domestic information war. Almost immediately, Iranian state media began broadcasting fabricated footage, claiming to their citizens that the USS Abraham Lincoln was fleeing the Gulf with catastrophic damage. United States Central Command, or CENTCOM, waited 3 days before quietly releasing factual photographic evidence. Those photographs revealed the reality. The carrier was calmly conducting normal flight operations without a single visible scar on its hull. This exposes a critical vulnerability. Iran's leadership had fallen into their own psychological feedback loop, having convinced themselves over years of internal messaging that their saturation doctrine was invincible. When a military command hierarchy consumes and believes its own domestic propaganda, it loses the capacity to accurately assess adversary capabilities. That guarantees their ultimate defeat. So, with 90% of their strike capacity gone, the question remains, does Iran escalate, or do they finally accept that the fight is over?